Following today's somewhat unexpected news that Google is closing its Stadia service, you might find that there are a lot of Stadia controllers hitting the second-hand market. Google have been notorious for closing down projects that don't meet their expectations, and it looks like Stadia has also fallen short of the mark and has met the same fate as Google Plus and Google Now. While it was obvious it wasn't doing as well as it had been expected to, it looked like Google might stick it out and see if it eventually got a bigger share of the market once traditional consoles started to go out of date. I picked up one in a Black Friday sale with a Chromecast for only £20, a deal too good to turn down. I had planned to make a video covering both the games available for free play and a quick review of the controller, but the recent news means that would be redundant. So, should you hold on to yours, or pick one up cheap? Well, the first thing to note is that the controller only works wirelessly with Stadia, and connects through your Wi-Fi connection. To use it for anything else, it will work through wired USB connection on PC and Android. This will be a deal breaker for many, but as I usually use it on a laptop, it is perfectly acceptable for me. It has a nice weight to it, and is very comfortable to hold as it feels well balanced. It has a design that falls very much between the modern Xbox and PlayStation controllers, and has a similar premium feel. I've grown to like the concave heads of the analog sticks, more so than my PS3 controller. I've never been a fan of Xbox controllers, but that is more down to a lack of experience. I didn't have any trouble in FPS games and find them pretty accurate. As someone who plays more 2D retro games, however, the D-pad is much more important. While it's not as good as a classic Nintendo-style D-pad on a SNES or Game Boy, it is much better than the D-pad on a DualShock or the awful buttons on the Switch's Joy-Cons. Having a solid cross shape lends itself to fluid movement much more than the separate switches of the other controllers. One complaint I have is that it is a little too flat to the controller body and can do with some dimples or ridges to keep my thumb from sliding off. The face buttons are always responsive, and I haven't had any issues with them sticking when pressed. What I would prefer is that they were a little bigger. They are a little small for my liking. Anything that needs repeated button mashing can get a bit tiring due to the size and the relative resistance in the button switch. My biggest gripe with the controller is with the shoulder buttons. The L1 and R1 equivalent are fine, if placed a little too high for me. The trigger buttons, however, are digital, not analog, which feels a little strange and old-fashioned. This would be fine if the buttons were like an L1 and R1 on a PS1 controller with a standard switch, but Google has gone with a long trigger-style press. Perhaps something changed in the design process, and they decided against making them analog. All told, I've ended up with a bunch of cheap third-party controllers, and this beats all of them for using a gamepad on my laptop or arcade cabinet. For the most part, I still use an arcade stick, but there are times that using it just doesn't feel right, and this has become my go-to. The hassle involved in getting the older PlayStation and Nintendo pads working on a PC means I don't even need to try to get them working now that I have this. But it might not be right for you if you have more modern controllers that work out of the box with a PC or Android device. If you're okay with playing tethered to a wire and can get this for a bargain price, you'll be pleased with how premium this feels compared to all those cheap controllers you've got kicking around. Unfortunately, you only have a few months left of Stadia if you want to give it a go, and amazingly, if you've paid for anything on the service, Google have stated they will be refunding your purchase. If you do try it out before the lights go off, my tip is to play it with a wired Ethernet connection through the Chromecast. It's almost indistinguishable from having a console right in your living room.